Watch these next 27 minutes to hit Iridescent in 2025. Throughout this video, we'll go over all the hardpoint spawns for each map. We'll also break down how to win Control, and we'll go over how to win SnD. And to celebrate 4 years of coaching, my website is 25% off for the next 4 days. If you guys have any questions, let me know and I'm happy to help. Other than that, enjoy the video. The second that the enemies get into this spot, they will cause parallels. They will cause flames. So you just want to prevent them from getting there.
Yep.
If we're on the hard point and the enemies aren't pushed up, we're going to spawn close. If the enemies are pushing up pool side, you're spawning over here. If they're pushing up P3 side, you're spawning over here.
Okay.
Same thing. If we're on the hard point and the enemies aren't pushing up, we're spawning close. If they're pushing up catwalk, we're spawning in art. If they're pushing up P3, we're spawning at scaff. And then if the enemies are blocking the back, you can actually spawn on the hard point. So if we're on the hard point, we can spawn right here. And then for the enemies, they're going to spawn at scaff side over here, middle, or all the way back art. Yeah, and this one you actually have to look at the back or stand in it.
Okay.
And like the goal would be like we're in a setup like this. And then after we get like 3 dead, 4 dead, this guy pushes up to this car. This guy pushes up to this car. And now all these enemies spawn right here.
Okay.
And then when we're ready to flip spawns, this guy leaves. The second this guy leaves, now all the enemies spawn right here. But yeah, majority of the time, the enemies will just spawn right here. But again, if you push up pool, they're going to spawn middle. If we push up middle, obviously they're just going to spawn here. If we're blocking both, they're spawning here. Majority of the time, you will be spawning like in the back over here, maybe inside art sometimes. But if you ever spawn right here, if you ever spawn in the front of art, turn around. That means someone is in the back. Okay. And then obviously over here, they're pretty much always going to spawn here. But if we push up and we block, so if we do like a line setup, kind of like this, these enemies will all spawn right here.
Okay.
If the enemies are pushing up over here, you'll spawn right here. If the enemies are pushing up over here, you'll spawn down here. And then most of the time, you're going to be spawning at poolside. Unless the enemies push up and they're blocking it, then you'll spawn middle. And then if the enemies push up middle and they're hard blocking and they're blocking over here, you could spawn all the way back over here. Again, if we are on the hard point, we're pretty much always going to spawn close. But if the enemies are on the hard point and they're like looking at us, we're just going to spawn over here in the back.
Yep.
And same thing. If we're on the hard point, we're going to spawn close. But if the enemies are on the hard point, we're going to spawn a little bit further back. And if they're actually pushed up on us as well, then we can also spawn all the way over here. These are the anchor spots. So if red team, they get a player inside of here, that could cause splits. Same thing with blue team. If blue team, they get a player inside of here,
yep,
that could cause splits. If you see your teammate push inside of this building, just be aware that these enemies could spawn behind. At a professional level, what the pro players do is like, let's say they got 4 dead. One guy on time would pre-aim to block this spawn. One guy would be inside of here blocking these spawns. And then they would have a guy top trips aiming out and he's blocking this back spawn. And he doesn't have to look at it. So it's very interesting. This is where like it depends on what side you want. It's honestly good for each side to hold P2. I'm just going to say this is the good side because you spawn super close. You're either going to be on the hard point and you spawn close, or the enemies are on the hard point and you spawn back. And that's it. Same thing. If we're on the hard point, you're going to spawn close. If the enemy's on the hard point, you're going to spawn in the back. Very simple. P3, once again, pretty simple as well, where you're pretty much only going to spawn in the back, and that's really it. And then you could spawn out on the right lane or middle. And that just depends where the enemies are looking. If they're looking middle, you're going to spawn over here. If they're looking right lane, you're going to spawn middle. And that's really it. These spawns honestly don't matter because it's all about just get inside of the hard point and play the hard point. So don't worry about spawns too much on this one. But I would say these are the preferred spawns because it's easy to drop down elevator and get to time, like the fastest way. You could spawn over here. And then same thing, you're either going to spawn here or you're going to just spawn a little bit further back here. That's it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so protocol is very simple. you're spawning boat, you're spawning tin. If none of the enemies are pushed up, you're spawning in office or bottom line. Same thing. If the enemies aren't pushed up, you're spawning lobby. But if they're pushed up on well side, you're spawning Lambo. If they pushed up on Lambo, you're spawning well. And that is all of P1. So with these spawns, basically, if you were hard blocking, right? So like you're right here, you're pre-aiming over here, you're blocking both of these spawns. And if you had a teammate push out rock, that would spawn these enemies that back boat.
Okay.
Whenever you spawn at back boat, you just pretty much always need to know that there's an enemy somewhere around this area. And that's really about it. Now, obviously, if this guy right here isn't blocking and instead he's like over here or like playing right here, and then we have someone that pushes out, all the enemies would spawn right here. You would probably visualize that where it's, oh, I see my teammate pushed out rock and I'm sitting right here. I don't have any teammates over here. These enemies more than likely spawned right here. But if you had a teammate right here and then you were right here and you saw your teammate right here, then you would go, oh, okay, they're spawning super far back. And like I would say like that's the hardest thing about reading spawns is it all is dependent on where your teammates are on the map. Right. And obviously the minimap isn't that good. So you kind of have to like, look through the walls, see where your teammates are. Now, same thing for P3. If we're on the hard point, we're going to spawn close. If the enemy's on the hard point, we're going to spawn a little bit further away. That's really just about it. And then for us, we would spawn at well. Then if they push up and they're blocking, we'll spawn inside of the middle. So for this one, if you had a teammate hard blocking right here, so if you're sitting in this position right here, if you see a teammate in this position, he's blocking both of these spawns, the enemies will always spawn right here. But if you have one teammate push up and he's pre-aiming, that would spawn all these enemies right here in the middle. But you're going to spawn Lambo. You could spawn at well. We'll talk about that later. And then you could spawn boat, and then you can spawn a little bit further back over here at boat. One enemy pushed up on the front right here, and we had a teammate sitting on Lambo. Pretty much the entire time, these enemies would spawn right here. But if this one teammate pushes up just a little too far, like right here, then he's blocking both of these spawns, and then the enemies will spawn down here, especially if you have a teammate right here.
Okay, so that's pushed up by like office window?
Yes, exactly. So if someone pushes up top window office, and we have a teammate at Lambo, more than likely one of these enemies will spawn at well. And I would say that most of the time you want to be spawning Lambo side for P4. That's kind of what I'm trying to indicate with like the blue circles is
yeah.
Rotate, get these spawns for the new. You could be spawning at hop up.
Yep.
And that's if the enemies are playing over here at kitchen. But if they're on the hard play and they're pushing up in like bedroom, you're going to spawn at grass.
Yep.
And then over here, same thing. If we're on the hard point, we're going to spawn piano. But if they're pushing up piano, we're going to spawn at barbecue.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing about this map is the second you get past this invisible line. So you leave kitchen, you go underground, and you jump out of underground, or you get past this invisible line at piano, you pretty much instantly cause a flip. Yeah, at all times, the general rule is the last person that spawns in is always picking up pitch or always anchoring.
Okay.
So if you find yourself being the last player spawning in, you're usually better off just literally sitting right here. Because you get to hold kitchen push out, you get to hold underground push out, and if they hit front, you can look at it. Again, no matter what, the second they get past this line, your teammate will spawn out, but the goal is if you win the gunfight, before your teammate spawns in, your teammate spawns with you, or if you win the gunfight, the enemy's just still going to spawn out too. And like one enemy will spawn here and your teammate will spawn here. And those are called parallels. Now for P2, it's almost the exact same thing, but you're pretty much going to spawn at piano, or you're going to spawn at barbecue, and then you're either going to spawn at hop up, or you're going to spawn at grass.
Yep.
Now this one, the invisible line, is right here. So the second that blue team pushes up to top piano, pushes up to P1, pushes gym, that blocks this spawn, and it spawns these enemies at grass. If we don't have a teammate there at all, these enemies will always spawn at. And then obviously if they push out this way, they'll spawn at barbecue. And then if they push both sides like this, you're kind of screwed. You're just going to get spawned out. P3, you'll either spawn grass or you'll spawn inside a bedroom. And then you'll either spawn piano or you'll spawn at barbecue.
Yep.
Now, the secret about this one is you always want an anchor playing for these spawns. So you always have one guy playing for these spawns. Or last guy spawns in, plays for them. And then whenever you pre-aim, you are blocking that spawn. And this is the most crucial thing about this hardpoint, is if you're not looking there, the enemies will literally spawn there. It probably happens to you a bunch where like you get 4 dead, but none of you guys are looking at the spawn. And because you're not looking at the spawn, all 4 of them just spawn here again, and they just overrun you when you're like one shot and you're healing up. So that's a very important thing. And it goes for the same side. If you guys break into the hard point and you're, standing behind the cover, not looking at the spawn, all the enemies are just going to spawn there again, and they're going to run at you. Now, these spawns, you're pretty much always going to spawn here. If you're not spawning here, these enemies are pushing kitchen. You're going to spawn here. And then if all the spawns are blocked, you could sometimes spawn in bedroom, which is honestly unfair. They should get rid of this spawn. It'll rarely happen, but it does happen, and Call of Duty should just get rid of it because it's just not fair. But for the spawns, you'll either spawn at piano or you're going to spawn at kitchen, and that's really about it. You could spawn all the way back here, though, and that's if we get map control. So if we have one player in time, one player hard blocking, one player pushed up P1, and one player pushed up kitchen, that'll spawn them right here. Yes, that's like just the general rule, is last player who spawns in, he hard blocks and holds pitch. But once he sees one of his teammates die, so like let's talk about that scenario. So he's right here hard blocking. The second that this teammate dies, he instantly pushes out, because then this guy's going to spawn in and hold.
Okay.
And then if this guy dies, this guy pushes out, this guy goes to time, this guy spawns in. So for Redcard, I would say for P1, it's usually better to be spawning on blue side over here. Now, if the enemies are pushing up the, outside, they're pushing up the right lane, and they're blocking like the restaurant spawn, you'll probably spawn outside right here. If they're hitting the outside and they're like taking a flank like this, then you'd probably spawn on the outside over here. And then last but not least, if they just have, full map control and they're just absolutely slaying us, we're going to spawn in the garage. And the same thing happens on the other side. If the enemies are playing on the outside and they're just, pushing up, you're going to spawn in restaurant. If they're instead pushing up bleacher side and like ticket side, you're going to spawn on the outside. And then if they have us all 4 dead and they have map control while they're blocking, you could actually spawn further back over here, which the bad side spawns are right here and right here. And then the good side spawns are over here. And then you could spawn top middle. So like, let's say the enemies, they had like one player spawn in late. Like he spawned in and he's like running towards time. And like these enemies are also pushing out like this. Like you very well could spawn these enemies top middle.
Oh, we can.
But the second that this guy leaves, like all he has to do is leave, then these guys can spawn inside a restaurant. You're going to be spawning outside most of the time. You could spawn top middle. You're going to be spawning in garage. The only time you can really spawn outside of the garage is if the enemies are hard blocking and they have one enemy pushing down like the Eskies. And now he's blocking this back spawn, and it spawns you guys to the right. But you guys would probably never get this spawn. If you do get this spawn, just know that someone's next to you. But you do normally want to be spawning at soccer because you have a closer route to hit P4. Now, if the enemies are in a line setup, then you could spawn top middle. And vice versa. You could spawn top middle, or you're going to spawn at bus. And that's pretty much it. The only time you would spawn top middle is if the enemies are creating a line setup. First rotator is always playing for the spawn. Second rotator is playing for the middle map control to cut the enemies off. There is a preferred side to play on, but if you don't get that preferred side, you could actually push through old on P2. Control is one of the more simpler game modes to learn about. And the reason why is just because it's very step by step. Hey, get control of this first, get control of the second, we win. Whenever you want to capture A on vault, and this is for capturing, usually you and your team, all 4 of you guys, want to push out this side. Once we push out this side, we have one player play over here. That could be top P4, bottom P4 on the car. He could be over here. Just have one player playing over here. And at that point, everyone else stacks on the point. Now, when we want to capture B, you could definitely send people over here and then like get inside of art. Or you can kind of headbutt it and get inside of art. But like the whole point is capturing B. We have to get a player inside of art first. Once we get a player inside of art first, then everyone stacks the point. That's game. That's done. Like that's literally it. Get kills, get control. Get kills, get control. Now we just spawn trap. Whoever controls top office, top plat, top U, they win. That is your job. That's all you have to do. If you're on offense and you get 3 to 4 dead, we all stack the point. And then we all get control of this, get 3 to 4 dead, and then we stack the point. It's just get control of this first. On defense, you have to get control of this first. Make sure none of the enemies are there. And then once we get 3 to 4 dead, then you get control of Lambo. And then we get control of outside. And now the enemies are stuck spawning in the back. On offense, you pretty much always need to get control of your building first. Once you have control of your building, you and your teammate get control of their building. Once we control their building, now we stack the point. And then once we stack the point, all you have to do at this point now is just control middle the entire time. And as long as you guys control middle the entire time, once you get 3 to 4 dead, we just stack them. And you could send a player to like flank and like, you know, get here. But still, it's like the major thing is control middle. Control middle, control middle, control middle. Once we get 4 dead, we can stack the point. Defense, it's pretty much just control this building. If you have an AR out, you could play over here. You could play over here. And that's pretty much it. But if you keep the SMG out, which I highly recommend in ranked play, you're just going to control their building the entire time and just get there however way. Push up, hit the zip line, go underground, flank spiral, push up middle, get inside their building, just get inside of their building. The whole point of being inside of their building is if they get on B, you can flank them. If they get on A, you can flank them. Very simple.
Yep.
You have your middle lane, you have your bottom lane, and you have your top lane. Obviously for blue team, right, middle, left. Red team, right, middle, left. Usually, your first 2 rounds, you want to play spread. All that means is 1 person in each lane. If we have 1 person in each lane, it is impossible for these enemies to flank us. When you're playing spread, you're mostly getting info. And it would basically be, oh, guys, they have 2 players playing over here at B, 1 player middle, 1 player A. And like the second you get that info, you would just use your numbers advantage. And you would say, all right, let's go single out this guy at A. And then we can like 2v1 him. Like that's what the pros would do. They'd probably like work a 2v1. But in ranked play and in just regular SnD, if you all 4 just literally rush at this one guy, there's usually nothing he can do. And then same thing over here. Like let's say both of you guys are here looking for them at B, but you don't see them at B. Both of you might as well push up and start going for it. And usually the whole point of playing spread is you're either going to be in a scenario where you're collapsing on the enemies and your blue team, or you're playing numbers advantage and you're just banging out a bomb site. And obviously it would be like, you kill this guy, maybe we get traded, we get bombed down. Once we get bombed down, this person holds their side and says, yo guys, I have all of their side. This guy turns around and says, all right, yo, I have all of P4. And this guy turns around and says, all right, I have all a hedge. Now, once you get information, once you get information on how these enemies like to play, you can start playing counters. And I would say like rounds 3 to 6, you can just start like doing hard counters. So if we know that this guy plays at hedge and they have 1 guy sitting middle and then 2 players at B, like if we know that, the second that the round starts, we can just instantly 4-man hit this without wasting any time. And the whole point is we know exactly where this guy is going to sit. We know exactly what to do. And like it could be, yo, everyone, double nade this guy, or yo, everyone just fly at the guy. And the same thing happens for defense as well. On defense, they can sit there and be like, oh, yo, they just last time sent 4 players at A, so this time let's, support it. And it'd be like, this guy is going to get info and like instantly flank, but we're gonna have support. This guy's on P4, this guy's hedge, and this guy is probably like top window. And like the whole point is we're trying to keep these guys back so this guy can go for a pinch. Get info on where all 4 players like to play. Once you have that info, now counter them. And then once you counter them, predict how they're going to respond off of that. Off the top of my head, I know Hacienda is actually a good map to like take routes. But like this red card example, this red card right here, this is there are no routes. It's either, if they're not there, go for the flank. If they are there, you kind of just got to wait and let your teammates come help. When I'm playing bottom line, I can throw shoulders and I can see if these enemies go top closed and I can see if they go top open. If I see these guys hitting top open, usually what I do is I instantly push out and then I do the hop up in the middle and I hop up and I shoot everyone in their side. And my goal is trying to get like a 2-for-1 trade. And then hopefully my teammates can 3v2. If these enemies all go top closed, I'm going to push bottom middle. I'm going to go secret. I'm going to flank them from secret and shoot them all in the back. And same thing. I'm trying to go for a 2-for-1 trade. Because your teammates should win a 3v2, hopefully. Now, if they're all deciding to play A, you can push middle, go bottom U, and then kill them off A from bottom U. And then the last thing is if these enemies just straight up go B, at that point, this is where it requires teamwork to actually break this bomb site, and you would need coordination. You would need your teammates to be with you, and then you guys would be like, all right, everyone throw grenades. All right, 3, 2, 1, I'm checking left. You check right. Then you play for the trades. But there is a wallbang spot you can see on the staircase. Yeah, now on offense, this is where, again, you have to play as a team. So if we're all 4 hitting A, usually it would be 2 teammates are hitting outside. If you're hitting outside, you would go inner. And once you get to this position right here, the enemy could be on the bomb ready to shoot you. Yep. So you just got to be ready for it. But if you get inside a bottom U, at this point, your job is basically, play your life a little bit, get bombed down, and then play your life. When you go top, this is where you can either swing in and take the ego challenge, top U, or you can cook a grenade and throw it in there and then play for the kill. And that's kind of like picking up on the enemy's tendencies and patterns. Like, if you know that they just fly in here every time, you might as well just cook a grenade, throw it in there, get the guy one shot, and then play for the gunfight, right? Or double challenge with your teammate. But if you know that this guy always plays it scared and he plays it back like all the way over here in the office, then at this point you can just literally sit in a corner, let your teammate plant bomb, and then you just wait. You just literally play the post plant. Obviously, one teammate would want to watch. So as a team on offense, you're pretty much always playing as a team. Like, you guys can 4-hit open and then go B. You guys can just all 4 go B, get the bomb planted, and just like play it like P4, right? Like maybe 2 players sit in these corners like this. One player just got the bomb down looking this way, and then this guy's holding pinch, right? Just super simple. Yep. If we said, guys, everyone just play spread, play for a kill, or like wait for me to get a kill, these are the things I love doing. So like one guy would be like on this well head glitch, you can't die. One guy on this Lambo head glitch, you can't die. This guy is like sitting in a corner or on the desk head glitch, he can't die. And if you're playing by yourself for a play, you can go bottom secret, throw shoulders, and if you don't see anything top middle, you can push up, go bottom wine, and now you have a free flank. Usually you would want to flank office.
Yeah.
Another thing I love doing on offense is taking the water route. Literally just jump into the water. It's going to take quite a bit. It's going to take like 30 seconds for you to like swim all the way in this distance. But when you swim all the way over here, now you're in the enemy's base, and same thing. Go deep, and now you can go for a pinch. First round, we play spread. I'm looking for middle. I go for the pinch middle. I get the pinch off. We get the kills. And then the enemy sit there and said, yo, guys, they played for that guy middle. So, like, let's play super heavy middle like this. Because they're playing heavy middle like that. Then me and my team said, all right, let's just all 4 go B. We planted the bomb. And now these guys are stuck middle. Like right here. So then if these guys try to push their middle, they're running into a fatal funnel. They're dead. Yeah. And then now they're like, oh, shoot, guys. All right, let's play defense B. And then it's like, all right, now let's just all go A. And we all go A. And now they're like tweaking. And they're like, all right, guys, we need to have 2-2. And then when they have 2-2, that's when I do the water route. And I go in the water. And usually I always recommend just going deep and hopping up. But for whatever reason, these enemies, this guy was like literally sitting right here. I was just like, all right, I'm going to get a free kill. And I just got a free kill in the water. and I played my life. And then this guy was like, wait, he got to kill my teammate, look for him, and my teammate right here killed him. Like, it was just super easy, super easy.
Yeah.
The only thing we didn't talk about SnD real quick, though. So for SnD real quick, talking about 2v2s and 1v1s. So if you find yourself in a 1v1 and you are waiting for the enemy to plant, there's two ways you can play it. You can play for the 50-50. So you can literally just stare at the bomb and just wait for him to hopefully plant B. You kill him, you win the round. But if he plants A, then what you can do is you can treat the bomb like the middle of a clock and go in a circle and clear everything out. Which there's spiral, there's the back, there's elevator, and then there's P2, and then there's boat, and then there's like top. And like that's really about it. So like when you need to defuse a bomb, you could check this entire outer side. If you don't see anything outer side, you can then, drop down into spiral, and then you can swing out in the back. And if you clear out all of spiral, all of outside, then this enemy is probably sitting in an elevator.
Yep.
And then you can play for that 1v1. But obviously the enemy could do the exact same thing. This enemy could sit there and go, oh shoot, I saw him inside a bomb site. I'm going to take the elevator zip. I'm going to go around in a circle like this. And as you're looking for him, you'll be like, wait, where did he go? He obviously went in a circle like this, and he's probably going to be open. Because obviously he's going to think you could be on the bomb, so he's going to rush you, and you can like play for that kill. Same thing with B. You just like kind of treat it like a circle, where the only spots he could really be playing to like check the bomb are these spots. So that's rotating around a circle on diffusing the bomb and playing post plant on the bomb, and it's just really just wasting time. The more time you waste, the more mistakes the enemy is going to make, and just always play time. Really, that's how you're going to win a lot of your 1v1s. The last thing that I didn't say was just when you're waiting for the enemy to plant the bomb, if you're just waiting and you don't want to wait, you could just rotate around the entire map in a big circle. And the whole point of rotating in the big map in a big circle like this is you're not going to get shot from your back, right? Like, as you're running like this, you only have to focus on what's in front of you, and that's literally it. What's in front of you and what's middle. What's in front of you and what's middle.